Hello and welcome to today's video. As you can tell, the board is empty, and by the title, this is more of a rambling video. MSI video should start coming out tomorrow. Um, LCP, I think, play in the morning, and then I'll be able to get some sort of MSI preview out for one of those two teams done, and then start MSI stuff for the next week and a half, 2 weeks before that tournament begins. Big deal. This is where we make our money. Now, as far as this is concerned, this video, jungle proximity. In a recent comment I received yesterday, somebody suggested jungle proximity being used in my LEC All Pro video for the split based on stats, because Adam had a high jungle proximity. Malrung, I guess, had a high topside jungle proximity, and Kana had the lowest. So that should have been factored in to the stats. Now, I'm going to talk about why I feel jungle proximity is a misleading stat. It has value, but at the same time, to determine how meaningful that proximity is tough. I think for a lot of people it's tough. So first things first, we're just going to quickly half-ass draw the rift, right? So you got top lane, mid, and bot, right? So we got our three lanes, and then you got jungle, of course, you got across the middle, got river, right? So, but the point is here, the jungler is in between the lanes, farming and creating trouble. Now, quick Google search of what we actually use to determine jungle proximity. If a player is within 2,000, if the jungler is within 2,000 units of the lane or the teammate, it's considered proximity. The percentage of the game the jungler is spending close to XYZ player results in proximity to that side, top or mid or bot lane. Now, the thing is with jungle proximity, I personally don't believe in pressure. I don't believe that pressure can be really calculated. You can't calculate pressure. Pressure is a hypothetical. And don't get me wrong, pressure exists. But I think people use it too much. They insinuate that proximity automatically means pressure. It does not. Because the fact is, if Kana and Adam are in top lane, right? So you've got the top lane, all right? And this is why I always love vision efficiency. Vision efficiency is a massive stat. I've mentioned scouting and how teams need to do a better job scouting. Level 1s, etc. Early game is very important. Obviously, everyone puts their wards in the same similar positions, but I feel like it's not done optimally. And the teams that do it the best are usually the ones that win, because they take the time to do a good job, be effective in those small details in the early game. So when we're looking at top lane, we think of Adam and Kana. Okay? How do we know if Malrung is actually affecting that lane? Right? So Adam could be on top side, and maybe he is playing more aggressive. Because he's like, oh, well, Malrung is down here. And maybe, let's just assume it's Adam versus Kana. And Kana's going to say, oh, well, you know what? He's playing kind of aggressive in this matchup. You know, there must be something up. That's possible. That's possible. But without any vision of the jungler, can we confirm that that's what the jungler is doing, right? Not really. So you could bluff as a top laner and affect that lane in a certain way. Now, you'd say, well, you know, that is risky because, I mean, he could be overextending. What about the enemy jungler? He doesn't know where he is. No, you're right. He doesn't. Without vision of the jungler, you don't know where the fuck the jungler is. Now, if a team does a good job scouting, and obviously when you play thousands upon thousands upon thousands of games in solo queue and in scrims, you understand, generally speaking, how, the first rotation goes of camp, second rotation of camps. You know, they're going to go from here, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, maybe depending on the meta, depending on the champion, you may throw, oh, well, this champion at level 3 will gank. This champion waits till level 6, make sure they get their ulti to be valuable, then they're going to gank. That is predictable. Usually, pathing is relatively predictable, but the best junglers are the ones that may, in my opinion, skip this camp. Or maybe start here instead of there, where people expect you to start, because now you're going to be in a different spot than where the enemy expects you to be at XYZ time. Because I feel like in the case of, a matchup in lane, we may both have a timer thinking to ourselves, well, if the enemy jungler is probably going to start here, if they're, for instance, if you're top side, you'd be like, okay, the jungler's probably starting bot side in this matchup. It makes sense for them to do so. They're going to rotate up here. They're going to go from bot to top. Or you say, okay, well, they're going to start at the top side and then get a couple camps, go, mid or top side. You can assume that based on time. But I feel like without knowing if the jungler is actually there, it's hard to really say whether proximity played a role. They don't actually know if the jungler is there. They're guessing that the jungler is there based on experience, but I feel like a great jungler is going to be somebody that does something that you don't expect. Maybe they end up going to bot side instead of top lane, where you're like, oh, well, in this matchup, they're usually going to do this. Well, no, they're going to go here. But great warding eliminates all of that. Knowing, hey, we've done our homework on this player. In this matchup, they do this. Or you go to your own jungler, hey, in this matchup, what are you going to do? And maybe you have a better idea, but to just assume that because Malrung is in the top side more often than Yike isn't to guarantee that Malrung is affecting that matchup more than Yike is if neither jungler is on vision. Now, scouting, you could say, yeah, he's more often on top side than Yike, and therefore we could assume he is more likely to be up there, but you can't confirm it. And how much are you willing to give up for something you can't confirm? Are you willing to give up a wave? Are you willing to give up a plate? Are you willing to back off and recall early because you're like, you know what, I can't confirm it? Or are you willing to stay in lane? And, because maybe they're not up there. It's a weird thing because I don't buy pressure. I feel like if you do proper warding, do your homework, do some scouting on an opponent, you have a good idea. Then proximity is irrelevant. You can play aggressive in lane if you want to because the jungler is that's not what the jungler does. Now, they said great junglers are unpredictable. Would you do that against Canyon? I would say probably not. Would you do it against Kanavi? I'd probably say not. Just because you don't know what they're going to do. But at the same time, it's like against a jungler that hey, they do a great first path. Like their pathing is clean and this and that. It's like down to a science. They almost go autopilot. It doesn't matter if they're on the top side or the bot side of the rift. They're in autopilot mode. That proximity means nothing. So now, if you're still here listening to this, a couple years ago, I've tried to pepper it in, and once I started working, I wasn't able to really focus on what I was doing with jungle proximity quite as much. I actually pretty much bailed on it, but people that have been here for a while know I used to track what the junglers actually did, right? So I didn't use jungle proximity. I used actual gank attempts, dive attempts. Because in the end, because I think pressure is kind of just a mental thing, it's if I know this player ganks 4 times in one game and 3 times he went to top side, I'm going to say he really affected that matchup because The enemy jungler only went up there once, so clearly, let's just say Malrung went to top side 3 times, and Yike only went once. Well, yeah, I'm gonna say jungle affected that matchup. It was not pressure it was true proximity. Like, they showed in lane. They affected the matchup. Kana has to back up in that matchup in theory because Malrung is now there. It's an outnumbered situation. Maybe he goes and he just even shows up in a bush or shows up on the opposite side of a wall and kind of has vision of him. Well, now he is affecting that matchup. He is now really, truly affecting that matchup and purposely affecting that matchup, if you will. It's almost like, I guess what I kind of like it just said, I mean, proximity is what it is, but how much of it is purposeful as well? Like, is the player actually trying to affect that matchup? Is that really what the team is doing? Or is it just so happens the player is up there, they're finishing their path and then recalling? Like, to just say, oh, while this player is up here, they're affecting that matchup, I think is wrong. Unless the enemy has vision, you can't confirm that they know they're up there. You can guess. But at the same time, pressure is just a mental thing. So, like, I used to do ganks and dives and things. We're going to circle back onto that for a second. And I liked doing that because it gave facilitating junglers more of more respect versus carry-oriented junglers, because maybe a carry-oriented jungler would farm like mad, have 7 CS per minute like in today's meta, and then you have a jungler that may have 5.5 but gets more shit done, gets their top laner ahead, gets their bot side ahead. Maybe the gold ends up being the same, but that's where the rub is, right? This player farms, this player creates. And then affects the matchup and actually is real, I guess, jungle proximity. And it was a nice thing to do. There was a moment where I was even considering timing it, but that was a fool's errand for sure. Trying to time things, especially when you're in like, we're trying to watch streams with all the replays and it's like you can't actually do it. It's terrible. I talked to somebody this past off season about having access to stats, and I think they quoted me at like $2,500 a split, which is pretty fucking crazy to me. But so that didn't happen, as you could imagine. But the fact is, just the way I look at it, like you without vision, I don't know where the jungler is. So play balls to the wall. Play balls to the wall and have great vision. Because in the end, like, with great vision, you can play as aggressive as you want to, in my opinion. And maybe that'll get you caught. You might get caught. If there's something creative that the enemy jungler does or enemy team does that you're not anticipating, yeah. Would I say play aggressive if you're against a Talia mid and they just turned 6? No. Against a Nocturne that just turned 6? No. Obviously not. You got to be aware of things. But at the same time, if you're level 4, yeah, why the fuck not? Have vision, and then you will know if the jungler's actually there. Instead of, oh, the jungler's got proximity. I don't know where they are, so I'm going to assume they're there, but they could be up here because I don't have vision of them. So as long as you don't have vision, I think if you do really good ward placement and do effective warding, invade, do what you got to do, it really just eliminates the impact of what jungle proximity even means. It really does. It truly is like, okay, is the jungler over here or not? And it allows you it frees you up to do more. I don't know. This is kind of just rambling because somebody brought up jungle proximity. I don't love the stat. I really don't. I think that if, like you just said, if a player wards properly, if the team scouts properly, if we know what the enemy is probably going to do, we can go off of that. And, if they do something different, that's great. You're ready for it for next time. That's in the bag of tricks. But at the same time, wonder how much you're losing just because you think someone's there when they aren't. It's a puzzling stat. So, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.